Well,
let's see the numbers.
Well, Edward Lee, the Conservative MP, has said he's going to fight the plans for migrants to be housed in his constituency. That's all we have time for. Thank you very much to my guests for joining me here today on Politics Live. I'll be back tomorrow with more at 12:15 on BBC Two and the BBC iPlayer. From all of us here, bye-bye.
Today at 1, tributes to the presenter and comedian Paul O'Grady, who's died at the age of 67. A versatile presenter who fronted a range of TV and radio shows, Paul O'Grady rose to fame with his drag persona, Lily Savage.
So I'm stood having a drink and I looked over and here's Ulrika walked in the door wearing the same frock as me. I didn't know she had a little Woods catalogue. I was flaming.
Camilla, the Queen Consort, said his warm heart and infectious humour lit up the lives of so many. Also on the programme, Humza Yousaf is formally sworn in as Scotland's First Minister and starts to appoint his cabinet. Plans to move several thousand asylum seekers from hotels to former RAF bases in Lincolnshire and Essex are announced by ministers. Climate change advisors to the government say England is strikingly unprepared for the unavoidable impacts of global warming. And after sleeping outdoors for 3 years, the boy in the tent is coming back inside after raising hundreds of thousands of pounds for charity.
Coming up on the BBC News Channel, Scotland's stunning win over Spain maintains their perfect start to European Championship qualifying, but their captain insists it is just a start.
Good afternoon and welcome to the BBC News at 1. Tributes have been paid to the TV presenter and comedian Paul O'Grady, who's died at the age of 67. His husband said he died unexpectedly but peacefully yesterday evening. Paul O'Grady rose to fame in the 1990s with his drag queen persona Lily Savage, and he went on to present several programmes on TV and radio, including Blankety Blank and a Sunday show on Radio 2 for 14 years. Our entertainment correspondent Lizo Mazimba looks back at his life and career. Well, Lizo is here with me now. Lizo, you made clear there he was a great entertainer, but also an important figurehead. Lizo, thank you very much. Lizo Mazimba, remembering Paul O'Grady. Now, Humza Yousaf has been formally sworn in as Scotland's new First Minister, and he's now working on the shape of his new government. Our Scotland correspondent, Alexandra Mackenzie, joins us now from outside Bute House in Edinburgh. Alexandra. Thank you very much, Alexandra. The Immigration Minister, Robert Jenrick, has announced plans to move away from using hotels to house asylum seekers and instead use disused military bases in Essex and Lincolnshire and a separate site in East Sussex. He's told the House of Commons that the government is also exploring the possibility of using vessels at sea. The Refugee Council has described the proposals as entirely unsuitable. Our political correspondent Ian Watson reports now from Westminster. Satisfaction with the NHS across England, Scotland and Wales is at its lowest level since public surveys began 40 years ago. According to the British Social Attitudes poll, just 29% said they were satisfied with the health service last year, with waiting times and staff shortages the biggest concerns. The survey showed the public most valued the NHS being free at the point of use and the quality of care when they were seen. Our health correspondent Dominic Hughes reports. Victims of crime are to be given a legal right to get the Crown Prosecution Service or the police to review their cases if they are dropped as part of major changes to the justice system in England and Wales. The Victims and Prisoners Bill will also allow ministers to veto decisions by parole boards. Our correspondent Yetunde Yusuf joins me now. Tell us more about these changes, Yetunde. Yetunde, many thanks. Now, in the last few minutes, the King has arrived in Germany for his first state visit as monarch. After his plane touched down in Berlin, he was greeted by dignitaries. The trip was originally due to begin in France, but protests against raising the pension age meant that leg of the tour was postponed. Our royal correspondent Nicholas Witchell reports. The time is 19 minutes past 1. Our top story this afternoon. Tributes are pouring in to the presenter and comedian Paul O'Grady, who's died at the age of 67. And how the European Space Agency hopes to encourage young people to become astronauts with the help of Shaun the Sheep.
Coming up on the BBC News Channel, Sir Alex Ferguson and his longtime rival Arsene Wenger are the first two managers to be inducted into the Premier League Hall of Fame. The former Manchester United and Arsenal bosses won 16 titles between them.
England is strikingly unprepared for the effects of global warming, according to the government's independent climate advisers. The report by the Climate Change Committee said the government's lack of urgency over how England is to cope with and limit climate change was at odds with the recent experience of people living here. It said that without a step change in policy, there would be an increased risk to life and infrastructure. Here's our climate editor, Justin Rowlatt. The number of homes available to rent in the UK has fallen by a third over the past 18 months, according to figures from the property website Zoopla. This sharp drop in the number of listings has helped drive up rents for new tenants by 11%. As part of the BBC's Rental Health Week, listeners and viewers from across the UK have been in touch about their experience of the rental market. Our cost of living correspondent Coletta Smith has been following their stories. It's been 3 years since 13-year-old Max Woozy started his charity challenge of camping long-term in his garden. But this weekend he'll be moving back inside to sleep in his own bed after raising more than £700,000 for North Devon Hospice. John Maguire has been to meet him. It was a special night at Hampden Park as Scotland boosted their hopes of qualifying for next year's European Championship. They beat Spain 2-0. It's the first time that Scotland's men have beaten Spain since 1984. Our sports correspondent Jane Dougal reports. Now, Shaun the Sheep is back on land following his journey around the moon aboard the unmanned Artemis 1 mission. The European Space Agency is hoping that his presence on the mission will inspire the next generation to follow in his footsteps, which they say represent one small step for man and a giant leap for, and I'm sorry about this, lambkind, as our science editor Rebecca Morell reports. Time for a look at the weather now. Here's Matt Taylor.
Hi, Reeta.
It's looking warm.
Not quite balmy, but...
Terrible.
Yeah, sorry,
Terrible.
It had to be done. But things are turning much warmer at the moment across, not just us, much of Western Europe. The deeper reds here, though, in parts of Spain, indication we could see a close to record-breaking. Disruptive gusts of wind through the English Channel and the Channel Islands, outbreaks of rain, England, Wales, Northern Ireland, something a bit brighter on Friday to the west of Scotland, and still staying mild.
That's good. Thank you very much, Matt. And that is today's BBC News at 1. Now it's time for the news where you are. Bye-bye.
And it's time for some sports here on BBC News. Hello, I'm Hugh Ferris. Amidst the rain and indeed the euphoria, a note of caution from Scotland's coach and captain. Both Steve Clarke and Andy Robertson have reminded their jubilant fans that while their stunning win over Spain has them top of their European Championship qualifying group with 6 points out of 6, the job of reaching Euro 2024 in Germany is not done yet. But it has started better than many would have expected, as Andy Swiss reports.